We're going to start getting deeper stretch into our lungs today. So I want you to find a way to get the spinal column to lift and the ribs to open. So my proposal for the beginning is to start with a horizontal chest opener. So you're going to have a bolster, but it's going to be under your ribs. Okay, so however you're opening up into the lungs and these breathing muscles, right, lungs, diaphragm, ribs, is that we're going to have a block under the pelvis, okay? And when you lie back, I want you to sit on the block just for a moment. Don't sit prim and proper up with the spine. You're going to sit so you're lying back. The sacrum, tailbone is on the block, and then as you lower back, adjust as you need to. And then, if you have a sandbag and you're going to use that for this beginning, some of us don't like sandbags in the beginning. It's up to you. You're going to apply that sand pressure either below the ribs on the diaphragm basin, right, where it's going to flow. That would be called focusing on the diaphragmatic pressure. Or you can have the sand on the upper thigh, which I really like eventually. It takes me time to get my back to be comfortable with that. So I'm just going to start with my knees pointing up. Just give myself time to get my back muscles centered. So if the block is a little challenging for you, get it to the base of it, right? You want to have your tailbone at the edge of that, and the bolster, you don't want to be over the edge of the block, but the bolster supports your ribs. And as you center back, the arms open. Okay, so the beginning is to start to get that deepening stretch into the lungs, into the breathing muscles. And it kind of brings you into that state of, consciousness into your body in this moment, presence in your body, awareness of where the breath is right now. So feeling when the arms are open. And with each breath, the chest muscles are going the opening direction. All day they tend to round forward. So however we can get the upper respiratory tree to slowly loosen and open. Now the sand could be moved. You could have it, again, not trying to make the core body like tighten. I want you to feel like you can lengthen it. Okay, so if you do decide to stretch your legs down, okay, that is interesting because it does bring a little bit of pull and length, but not at the expense of the knees. So if your legs are hyperextending, you might have to do some other things with the knees. It doesn't mean you have to bend them straight up again. It could mean you bring the soles of your feet together and the knees out. Okay, that's an option, even with the sand there. Just be careful that the knees, again, aren't feeling like they are getting too much pressure on the back of them or the sides. So nothing at the expense of our knees. With the arms open and the legs deciding whether they point up, they stretch down, or the soles of the feet are together and the knees out. Another option would be knees resting together in constructive rest with the feet turning in slightly. Okay, let's take a few moments here, feeling how the neck is lengthening. If 2 blanket stack is now becoming too many, and you can feel the chest slowly opening, you can always shed one of the blankets, all up to you. But feeling the abdomen expand on the inhale and relax on the exhale. Feel the belly rest back towards the spine. Now exploring that the arm distance is, it's far away from the heart, right? This could mean you're in goalpost arms, elbows bending, or keep it simple, arms just flow out from the heart. And we're going to start to shift in a few moments to returning the blood back to the heart. Of course, that's what we're doing all the time, right? The heart is a pump. But when we do poses that we can actually contribute to circulation and ease for the heart. So right now, this is important to open up the respiratory pathways when the arms are expanding. It's good for the posture. So we start with this kind of feeling the basin of our breath, feeling the openness. Take a few more moments. Even if you want to let your head nod a little side to side. Because when we go upside down, you don't want to let your head nod too much side to side. You don't want to put pressure in the soft tissues of the neck here. So if you need a little bit of movement in the neck, this is the kind of the final bus stop for that before we go upside down. Okay, just to be protective of the neck. We will have plenty of options going forward, but in the next few moments, if you need to move your head side to side. And then if you have sand on the ribs, if you have sand on, you're just going to move it aside. And we're going to bring our hands to the sides of the bolster, and I want you to walk your feet in, knees pointing up. Now, if you have a different setup, like you're not quite like this horizontal chest opener, you're going to begin to set up to come into an inversion with some height under the pelvis. So one blanket only under your head, so there's not too much curve. And then what I tend to do is I walk the feet to turn out so I don't pull on my knees very much, right? And then I'm going to slide the bolster so now it replaced the block, okay? When I slide down, I want to be careful not to go too far down. And I do want to go far enough down that I no longer am touching the block with my rear. That's about my main focus here. One blanket under your head, fold, and then grab a ball. Bring your feet up off the ground. First start with the knees lifting up, okay? Then we're going to place a ball to the back of the left knee, and we're going to bend that left knee and just kind of hug into the ball at the back of the knee. So I'm holding the ball at the back of my left knee, okay? Now my right leg is just going to lower down, my foot down first, okay? I would say keep it simple here in the beginning. And then as you're drawing the left knee towards your upper body, this is about as far as I'm going to go from my hip. This feels fine. Yes, I could probably push it a little bit, but I'm just working on coaxing into the back of that left knee. And then let the right leg stretch down, okay? See if you can work on that balance at the left SI joint a little bit and to the back of that left thigh. Squeezing, not holding and clutching the knee, but try to just get a hold of that ball. That's why these little knobby balls can be good because they kind of stay with your leg. If it's too big of a ball, it's kind of a challenge. It's extra credit, by the way. Okay. All right. Now, right leg slides in and switch. Take the ball to the back of the right leg so it's behind my knee. And I bend the right knee and I let the left leg eventually stretch down. Okay. We're going to warm up the sacrum area, the back of the pelvis in a few moments. So give yourself this moment to kind of, it's not a crash course in this, but we're feeling the awareness of coordinating these muscle layers, right? The top of the left thigh stretching down, the right knee bending, holding onto the ball without using my upper extremities, right? So with the left leg releasing down, I want you to get a feel if the foot's turning out on the left leg, try to bring it back in center. They like to roll out. It's just what feet like to do when you're on your back, right? And then slide the left foot in, take the ball and place it between the knees. Something familiar. Arms open and knees go side to side. Just take a little bit of time here. Drawing across the back of the pelvis. So each time I bring my knees to the side, they're holding onto the ball and my hip lifts, right? So I've got a whole lift of my hip and my rear, right? So I'm certainly kind of careening over to each side of the bolster. as I go side to side. Arms are open, knees side to side, and then feeling, even if you place your hands on the navel area, just notice that there's a little bit of pull going on here, a little resistance happening in your abdominals. Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite way to feel circulation in all these zones, right? So the legs hold on to that ball. Okay, now take a few more moments here, crossing over side to side. Breathe. Oh, look, there's a cat. That's the cat I was mentioning. I know, Flo, you mentioned where your cats were, but what a pretty cat, huh? Look at that cat. Okay, that cat should be the teacher, huh? Come back and center. Bring the left foot down, sole the foot down, not straighten the leg, bending the knee. And then I want you to take the ball and roll it around the right knee. So just below the knee, around the knee itself, right circulation, just above the right knee, even if you don't have knee problems. One never knows what's down the pike here. So get some helpful circulation around the back of it to the top, like you're putting on a bandage. I like to do this one in my chair class where people can't get on the floor. We try to wrap around the knee. Okay, so now as you're moving the ball to the back of the knee one more time, right behind the right knee, feel the right foot flex. Okay, so you're pressing into the heel above. Okay, and you're just gonna keep the ball behind the knee, and I want you to soften that right knee. Okay, and push the ball so it's above the back of the knee into the base of the hamstring. Breathe. It only helps. Okay, and then when you straighten the leg again, okay, flex and circle through that right foot. Feel some rotation. Keep it simple. Okay, and then left leg goes up, switch sides, right leg goes down. So circle around that left knee, okay, around the back of it and the top. Okay, and take some time. Oh, your cat is just taking over. Quite the cat. Okay. All right, so take it around the knee, wrap it around, opposite leg is bending. That's key. Bending the opposite leg, not straightening it out. And then place it just a little bit above, right? This is what is it, the popliteal? This is that lymph collector site, the popliteal, the back. So I'm going to go just a little bit above, and then I'm going to pull the ball and actually the leg towards me, and then as the leg curls around the ball. You're going to like this one a lot. I think that's very interesting. Okay, so feeling as you're pulling a little bit, pulling the leg towards you. Okay, now take a few more breaths here. Okay, and then bring the right knee in. Okay, take the ball out from the back of that left thigh and grab your belt. And then I want you to place it to the feet. It's in a loop. It's already buckled up, I bet. And you're going to slide the feet out wide in the belt, and hopefully you're buckled up so you're connected. And you don't need to have it the widest loop possible. Be realistic, right? Do you want to be shaking? Probably not. You might still shake a little bit on this one. It can happen. It can be like easy for you, and then one day it's just not as easy. So the circulation changes day by day, doesn't it? Okay, one day we got some other situation going on. So I want you to relax the knees here so they're softening. Legs reach out, focus on energizing that flow of lymph through the leg pits. And then as you reach overhead, you're going to grab a block, okay, wide setting, and then hold on to the block between the hands and stretch overhead and try to keep the legs straight out. Okay, this can be a little challenging. So if you find you can't do this without holding your belt, that's okay. So let's say you're here. This is where you're at. You have to hold the belt. Perfect. Some of us might hold the block overhead. And if we're holding it, I want you to keep the block above the floor, so it's hovering, and you're squeezing into the block, okay? Be sure not to nod your head too much here. We don't want to cause more friction at the upper spine. So isolate the muscles that we're working here. So we're pushing into the block, breathing. Okay, feel the rib movement at the back of the rib cage, expanding. Okay, let go of the block. Okay, bend your knees, grab a hold of the belt, and pull on the belt to slide your feet together. Okay, hold on firm. Walk your hands up the belt a little bit so you can actively participate in your upper inner arm contracting a little bit, pulling to navigate the circulation in the back of the legs. Okay, and feel where the tailbone centers here. So take a few more breaths. It was kind of good to reverse the flow back towards the heart. You're trying to keep the legs vertical if possible so they're not going over your chest at all. Okay, now lower the left leg down. And you're going to hold the belt with your left hand. The belt is around the right foot. And we're going to open out the right arm and cross the right leg over to our left. Okay, so when you're reaching with the hip, be caring to yourself. Some of us maybe make it a little bit more difficult than we need to. So give yourself the opportunity to roll a little bit on the left hip. So the bottom hip has the weight, has the pressure, and the right leg stretches over to the left. Okay, so the right arm is open. You're doing a little bit of a bend in your right knee, and definitely the left leg. That one's kind of forgotten sometimes. The base leg can definitely bend to help create a little bit more ease in the pelvis, a little bit more rotation in the pelvis. Okay, bending into that right leg. Okay, let's take a moment here in figure 4. So right foot to the left knee, take the belt off your foot, right foot onto the left, but it's not hitting your knee, it's above the knee. Okay, let the right knee stretch open. Okay, door number 1 here. Okay, door number 2, bring your knees towards your chest. I'm kind of liking this version. So you can lift up the left foot and hug the back of the left thigh, but it doesn't mean you get more points, right? Or you get more enlightened by holding the leg. I would say do what feels kind of interesting for you, because for most of us, our hip flexors, especially year after year, another year, they get kind of, they're hinging. There's a lot of grip here. And then we got pelvic floor stuff and we got prolapse stuff. So I like this idea of letting the knee open. It's also nice to squeeze and contract too. So you get to be the decider. It's all up to you. You get to decide. It feels good on your hip, you hold the back of the left thigh. But there are also primary hip muscles when my foot is on the floor too that I'm stretching. So take a few moments here, breathing. And now lower the right foot and bring the left knee in. Okay, you don't have to put a ball behind it. It'll be something you play with. Okay, place the belt under your left foot. First things first, it goes straight up. Okay, that's already a feeling of flush of circulation in your knee. It's a reverse flow in the back of the knee, which can feel very helpful in the beginning. This one, I think you can work on more of a straightening, but some of us have, our muscle power is different, right? It turns in, it turns out, it hyperextends. So you can touch around your knee and kind of feel the back, feel that. Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff behind the knee, isn't it? So when you cross the left leg over, you want to start to bring that flow to the side of the leg. Bend the bottom leg. The right leg bends. The left leg extends. Yeah, feel for the side muscles, the rotators, right? These lateral rotators are so amazing all day. So let the left arm open. You can let your head roll to the left or let it stay center. This is when we can start moving our neck a little bit more. Not so many restrictions now. So breathing. Always important to receive the practice with that focus. Okay, now kind of just do a mental kind of scan of sensation in the left hip. Okay, so it's fully lengthening out right now when the leg is straightish. So what's interesting is when we shift the bone structure a little bit here to put a little resistance into it, we bend the left knee, okay, just a little bit, doesn't have to be a massive bend, and then we roll the back of the pelvis and we place the left foot to the right thigh. Slide the belt off your foot, okay? Door number one, it could just be here, right? You have the bolster lifting you up to create that mild inversion. Door number one, okay. You might be feeling like, wow, this side is a little itty bitty different. It could be where your rear feels a little different. I mean, I know, I'm always amazed. I've lived in my body for a while. And it's like, this doesn't feel the same as the other side. And so I'm trying to work my whole practice to get some balance. So when I draw the knees in, if that feels right for my back, I do it. I kind of like this for my back to stretch too. So if you prefer your foot on the floor, yes, good. If you bring your knee in, you can hold the back of the right thigh. It's not easy. It does require a pretty good amount of flexibility. So if you can maintain this stretch for a few moments, maybe 30 seconds is a good timing for this one. Right? A minute would be max. Okay? But feeling when you're clutching the back of the right thigh, because we're going to move really focusing into our back care. So how does the hip motion affect your back sensation? Having a flexible hip is going to help a lot. Okay, not overly, but reasonably mobile. Okay, so when I let go of the back of that right thigh or I put my foot down, I'm going to bring both feet to a little bit wider than hips distance and just go side to side. I'm going to find the ball, okay? Place it center of the knees once again. And as we start to come down off the bolster, give yourself a moment with legs straight up with the ball center of the knees and try to squeeze the ball, okay? So feeling that squeeze directly in the adductor stuff, it feels like inflamed or one side's a little tighter, you got something that's been pulled, just keep the ball between the knees. Yeah, you never know until you get into your practice, like this feels this way. And so your work is on finding balance the whole time, okay? Sometimes there's shapes that create some balance. So as you bend through the knees, you're going to bring them towards the chest, and then you only have one blanket under your head now for sure. If you ended up not taking one away, you only want one for this one. And then take your bolster, push it. Yeah, push, 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 so the bolster is no longer under your pelvis. Okay, and some people need more padding under the back of their pelvis and their sacrum on this one, their tailbone. So if you end up needing more padding, what things I recommend, of course, a blanket, a towel. Some people have extra yoga mats. You can cut them up into, and then you can slide it under. That's really perfect for this. So just an FYI for what you can do if your tailbone doesn't like this. Do something about it. So your feet are on the bolster, and you're going to push. And when you lift the hips up, feel the front line of the hip rim, and you are trying to get it to lift. It's like, almost like I need something to push to get that to go up. but I want you to go only up and down the spine. You're going to get what you get. You just have to get what you get and accept it. Okay, so my hands are down by my sides, and I'm going to focus on just pushing into my feet and lifting my hips up, breathing. And I know that arms want to get moving on this one, but just go up and down the spine. Okay. Now, what if you want to get your feet a little bit further down? You could push the bolster downwards. I think the closer the bolster is generally works better for me, but I like to vary it up for strengthening in the femur, the connection in the bones, because remember, to strengthen them, you want to pull in the muscles, right? That's going to pull in the bone. So you want to get some resistance there, okay? So as I lift and I lower, I'm going to start adding my arms as I feel confident. So arms reaching overhead. Okay, now how high should you push the hips? See if you can really tend to the massage on the back. So think about that first, like, okay, I can feel my back getting that touch, and that's what I'm going to focus on. Now, the reason we use the bolster is to get the feet high enough so you can get higher up on the back when you lift your hips. So the bolster is pretty helpful. If you feel like you can't get to all the nooks and crannies in your upper back and it's tight, you can also do this lift and lower with your feet up on the wall, which is very good. Right? We used to do that when we learned shoulder stands, right? We'd bring our feet to the wall and we'd try to get as high as we could on our back, but we're not going to do that in this practice because it's a little harsh on the neck, right? At a certain point, puts too much pressure on it if we hold that for a long period. So I want you to lift and lower. Now, if the ball is becoming a little bit of a nuisance, like you feel like you have to squeeze it, you want to get to the point of a little fatigue in the adductors. So if you're like, you're completely tired of moving up and down, take a break. What I'd recommend is take a break and press into your upper thighs with your palms. This is how I like to do this too. I push into the upper thighs, right, at the hinge, and I push so my hands slide to the middle of the quad-ish, and then I bring my arms overhead. So for me, that distributes the circulation in my legs better. Otherwise, I just spend all this energy trying to squeeze the ball. So it's both gliding the quad and then stretching the arms overhead. Okay, now let's take one more. We've done about almost 2 minutes on this one. So lift and lower. Okay, so as you're reaching with the hips, I always find that's funny because when I think hips, I usually think the sides, but we got to use the fronts here. Okay. Primary hip muscles, lifting up, last one. Okay, now try to keep that lift, right? Your arms could be overhead, they could be by your sides. And then just slowly going down the spine. You can have your arms stay overhead. Your arms could be down by the sides. You kind of feel, how does it feel for you? Just touch down, spine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So you're going down the spine and you're breathing. Okay, once you find tailbone curve, okay, you're gonna press into the back of the pelvis, yes. Hands down by the hips, push, and bring your knees to the chest. Okay, now take the ball aside. Well, actually don't take it aside, you're gonna put it under your back of your pelvis. So roll the ball under to, about tailbone, okay? Now, some of us prefer the ball to be higher, okay? So I think it changes moment to moment when I do this. I don't think I'm always high up on the pelvis. It just depends on how I feel right now. So it's like, it has to be in the moment. It has to be right now. Like, okay, that feels like a good spot, So it just depends on how your back is, and there's days it's like, crummy. So go across the back of the pelvis with your hips, of course, moving side to side, like you're wagging your tail. Okay? So really wag your tail here. Okay, now, if you kind of push the edge of the wag, it can sometimes feel like a good massage. Okay, I'm a big fan of the softer balls for this work. Now it's surprising how these little teeth on these balls actually makes it more of a massage than the balls that don't have it. So I found a big difference on those, but you still can get the skin to stretch. You're still gliding across it, which is what's key for that circulation, is just getting the skin to get some stretch. So it's all good. Okay. Okay, now just land on that ball. Take a moment here, land, and bring your hands just below the ribs, so a little bit above the navel. Breathe so that it's like you're filling your abdomen like a balloon. Diaphragm motion. And then as you let the abdomen move back down. Okay, now just being on the ball, and I know you might be moving a little side to side, like a water bed, it doesn't stay completely still. And we're going to start to massage into the glutes. So it's up to you. I like to lift my hips and move the ball purposely to the right rear. And then as I lower my weight on the ball, I kind of curve, and then I go across the glute. Okay. So you might find that you want to get pretty high up on the glute here when you're rolling. Okay. So if you find that the ball is pretty low, you don't have to come up. But you don't want it down here. Okay. You want it up here. You kind of want it in glute zone. Glute medius, that's a big one that you're kind of focusing on pushing into. Well, you're pushing into the ball to massage it. Okay. So feel that circulation, whatever kind of ball you have. Let's say you want something more deep tissue. You can go ahead and use a tennis ball if you want. I'm just not a big fan of that because it causes so much muscle bracing and doesn't seem like the best thing for my nervous system. So the softer ball is still getting the work on massaging and drawing fluid into these tight tissues, helping with hydrating, mobilization in the body, right? Circulation wise. So it doesn't have to hurt to do good. I know some of us use foam rollers. I know we're guilty of that, but I don't know if you've ever, who is it? Robert Schleip. He's got a good book on that about the research that, you can do it, but it doesn't change it if you use a harder tool, like doesn't make it change the fascia. It's not changing it. It might feel, and it brings out the circulation, the hormone release might be different, the feel-good hormones, the endorphins, but it's also stressful, when the ball is really hard, it hurts. So glide on the glute. Now take a moment here when you can lift the leg up that's got the ball connected to it, and then glide across right to the glute border. Okay. And then just lower down on your tailbone. Grab the ball from that right side. Carefully, try not to clench your glute to get the ball under the left side. Let the knee swing to the right, and you're just going to kind of roll it under. Sneak it under there on that left glute without contracting it. And then you just swing the hip to the side, and you get better at self-massage. It's definitely an art to it. And you're just rolling on the ball. That's all you're doing. And the key is to move the hips. Yeah, you kind of know when someone's really new at it. They just move the knees and they're not quite sure. It's kind of weird to get that coordination in the tissues, but you've lived with these tissues for a while, so just let them kind of slosh around. Get that circulation in the glute medius and to the maximus, so it is going towards the center. You don't want to hang out in the center between the two rears. You just want to keep gliding on that left side. Your legs are going to get tired, right? It's definitely going to work your legs. Like your femurs are like, oh my gosh, gripping. One place works and one place gets the massage. Okay, now take a moment here as you're gliding. Let the leg lift. Push, roll. You might feel the border, right, where it's like, right on that border of the glute to the hip is like really kind of clammed up. So we're going to try to stretch that open. So let's come down on the tailbone or the right buttock. Take the ball out. kick your bolster over to the right side of your mat, not too far out. And then you're going to bend the right knee. And if you need a windshield wiper before you do this, knee side to side, go for it. Some people need a little bit more leg action, especially since your thighs were working so hard when you were moving your hips side to side. Okay, stretching the leg. And then we're going to cross the left leg over to the bolster. Yes, you might notice there's a block down there. You can just nudge it aside. And as you place the ball to the back of the pelvis, we're going to take our sandbag to the upper outer left thigh. Okay, what I found talking to people when we do like a lesson plan for the circulation, the hip, and then up the body, I find a lot of people request this part to stretch across before we do upper sage poses. Okay, but I teach in all directions. But you might feel that today. Like just notice what's good, what's a good circulation event for you. So the left hip is stretching over, so the left knee stretches to the bolster, right? My right leg is bending significantly. And then as I start to ease that stretch into the breathing muscles, I first set up the pose, the shape, and then I reorganize the spaces that I'm breathing into with the pose, per se. But we use the pose to get into the body, right? Not the body to get into the pose. So your head might roll to the left, but you're certainly going to feel that stretch across the ribs. And as much as we'd like, the hips don't quite feel that movement. There's no breathing muscles in my hip. So, and it's also good because it helps walk me around, right? I don't want it to expand. But just utilize that movement in your rib cage to help with the circulation at the base of your body and your lower extremities. If you have any tingling in the arm, right? Anything in the hand, remember that's probably a bit much. You can lower the arm down a little bit. You don't want your arm to go to sleep. Okay, now when we do get ready to come out of this one, some people can stay in this many minutes. It's good to kind of time it, not overdo it. Again, you don't want the leg to go to sleep. You want to just improve the circulation. So when we take the sand off, the sand is weight bearing. So that's an important thing to know that we're doing for the bones. So we've got the sand weight. Now we take that sand off and we move the ball aside. You might, as you come back center, bring the knees to point up and not hug them into the chest yet. So windshield wiper is a great option. Feet a little wider than hips distance, but not much. Just let the knees sway side to side. And then grab a hold of your bolster. And then take it over to the left side. Okay? Remember, you want to move things slowly. You don't need to be no rapid movement here. Okay, knees side to side. And then I try to use that swing, the momentum to get my hip to stretch. So sometimes we forget about that. It doesn't mean you have to be highly coordinated, but use the momentum, right? You're not going to fall any further than we're at on the floor. So, kind of feel that swing in the hip. Sometimes you have to be careful if you know something about yourself or your back, or things can flare up if you go too fast. But feel movement in not only your hip, but your abdominals. Yeah. Whenever I remember it, this is a revolved core pose. It's not just a hip thing. So if I put the ball at the back of my pelvis, right, kind of feel where the curve is, The ball can be there as an anchor, right? Momentum is your friend to get here, but once you get there, maybe a sandbag is good. It's not for everybody, not for every class. Sometimes you decide not to use it as much. So if you're using the sand, right, it's going to require a little bit more energy in the leg, right? So if you're really tired, right, sometimes sand free is fine. Okay. It's also helpful with grounding and traction. So in some ways, you don't have to use the leg activation as much. You're using the sand to get you into the pose. Now the right arm is possibly opening, okay, opening the ribs, but feel the difference of movement in the abdominals, right? So sometimes I feel like, okay, I have these upper extremities, arms, I got these lower, and then all the stuff in the middle is precious. It's the organs, it's precious, precious cargo. Okay. So when you're feeling this expansiveness, you can always commiserate with the organs, right? The liver, the spleen, the stomach, all these things that have lived for a while. Just feeling the breath in that space. You can do a little scan in that area. Some of us aren't really into scanning it. We just feel it moving, and that's great. But you kind of have to feel it to heal it. That's kind of one of my thoughts about things. Like, you got to be able to feel it to heal it. Everything's always healing and repairing and restoring over and over, regenerating. It's degenerating, it's regenerating. It's going to go back and forth. So taking the practice to work on regenerating, focusing, and also letting go too is a good one. Just let go of the tension. The last few moments here. When you're feeling that right arm open, it's pretty normal. You might get a little tingling at some point, right? Referred sensation from the chest tightness, right? When my arm opens, maybe you haven't done many chest openers in the last few days. Maybe this area is, quite tense, quite the circulation of the heart isn't great, right? So any of these are going to help out with that arterial flow, that circulation, that flexibility of this area. So it kind of gives you a little insight. Well, maybe I should do a little more of that, even if it's just moving your arm back during the day, holding a yoga strap behind your back to open the chest. We'll do that in a few moments. Those are things you can do. You can put your hand against the wall and stretch open one side of the chest at a time, doing the shoulder clock, those things. So now we're going to move the sand away. And as we begin to come up, if you have a craving, a pose craving to bring your knees to your chest, this would be the time. So if you're going to bring your knees in, you carefully push into your left foot. I just try to go slow as if, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to have any surprises. So I'm going to hug the back of the thighs a little bit and just circle on the outer rim of the sacrum, and then go the other direction, circling. You can certainly make it a little bit more folding, right? Hug them in really deeply, but it really is about circulation in the back rim of the pelvis, okay? It's all these ropey areas that just over time, they have the tension, they accumulate, that cumulative effect of time. Okay, now, whichever direction you're going to go, you're going to roll. You be the decider, okay? And you're going to roll and come around to hands, knees. And I mentioned I want to do something for the chest. So we're going to take our bolster across the mat, If you need a blanket under your knees, add it. Like you can put a blanket under your knees. Okay. We're going to take our blocks. They may be far away now. And I want you to come down. First things first, I'm going to show one that would be if you can't be on your hands. Okay. So you're going to start with your elbows down and your hip flexors on the bolster. Now, I could be closer to the wall. That would be nice because the wall gives me a little bit of feedback. It gives me some support and anchor when I'm pushing down, okay? So if you are near a wall, I would say get up to it with your feet so your knees aren't touching the floor anymore either. You don't have to have your knees on the floor, okay, right? You can have your knees up, elbows down. Now, those of us that want to go with our hands down, you can. I mean, it's if your wrists don't hurt, but at some point in life, they are going to probably they could have some difficulties, your thumbs, your hands. So it's probably a good idea to work on this core level of strength. So if my elbows are on my blocks, okay. All right, let's give this a try. Okay, so my hips are held by the bolster. Okay, there's always further to go. Guess what? Okay, now I'm going to push down to my elbows and I'm going to lift up off of the bolster, lift my thighs up. So I'm pushing back. Now the wall makes this so much easier. Okay, try to lift up. Okay, lifting up a little bit, forearm plank, and then coming back down. So the hip flexors get that full reach. Now, if it's impossible to lift up the pelvis off the bolster, don't worry, just stay here. It's okay. All right, now feeling as you're pressing down to the elbows. So my elbows are on my blocks like so, and my palms are together, okay? So I'm not like this. I have some support here with my hands. I think that's key. Bolster stay. All right, so now toes under, okay? If you got a wall, it's a little easier, I promise you, okay? Now, as I push down into my feet, balls of the feet, if you're on with the floor, you get extra credit. You're going to lift up into that forearm plank one more time. We're only doing 10 seconds, but it feels like 10 minutes. The 10-second, 10 minutes. Okay, watching it. Okay, now lower down. Woo, relief. Okay. Now, walk the hands on back, and I want you to take your bolster lengthwise, turn it under your core, and come into Sphinx pose. So now you go on down to surfboard, which is what I like to call this, elbows down. You can kind of wobble a little side to side, kind of rocking. It can be nice and therapeutic for your back. So my forearms are on the floor, my chest is moving forwards. Okay, my knees are up, my feet are pushing into the wall. So strengthening into my lower back here. We call these baby back bends. Okay, knees down. Okay, rest them. Take your blanket in, bring your elbows out wide on the blanket, your palms, your hands stacked, and let your forehead rest on your hands. Relax the back of the pelvis, just breathe. Okay, now as you come up, we're going to bring our hands back under the shoulders or so, maybe a little back from them. Come up to table. Remember, you can be on your elbows. You can bring your blocks in under your elbows. But we'll come into cat pose. So round the back, chin towards chest, spine is flexing. Okay? Use your abdominal muscles to flex your back. Okay? And then as you move your hips back, arch the spine. This is an interesting one. Sometimes we go, wait a minute, we shouldn't do this to our back. But when we're doing cat pose, we're pulling the belly muscles in and up. And then as we start to arch out, our hips move back. So we're rolling over the thigh, the femurs roll over the thigh bones. It's a good one. So back of the pelvis rounding. Remember, if this is too much, let's say you don't have your blocks under, you can put your bolster on your elbows too. Rounding and arching. Okay, let's do just a couple more. Don't overdo it. So if you feel like the movement in the pelvis is too harsh in your back ridge, right, on the paraspinals, right, if you feel like, oh, that's just cranking too much, just make it lighter. Even just a little bit of flow, just a little bit of motion is just fine, right? You don't have to overdo it here. Okay, so now as we come back, we're gonna walk our hands down. Again, if it's iffy for you on your wrist, it's always better to use a block under your hands to come back into downward dog, or you can have your elbows on the floor. So press the floor away, lift the hips up. Now, if you're close to the wall, really nice. So you have more support. Be careful, you don't want to slip slide away on your block. So have them close by. If you're using them under your hands, it gives you a little more height. Okay, my heels are up so my lower back can stretch open. Okay, now you're going to walk your feet towards your hands a little bit and your hands back towards your feet and take a forward fold. Okay, now take a few moments here in the standing forward fold. You can hold your elbows. Okay, you can have your hands on the bolster. I can tell this is better for my back muscles. It's a little more work, but when I drop down and round, for me, for my spine, I can tell this is not the greatest thing for my back, although I do enjoy it. So I'm probably better off with a little bit of extension of my spine. Okay, we'll take a few moments. Now, if you're kind of in between the two worlds, you can bring your rear back to a wall. Right? You can bring your elbows just above your knees, bring your palms back together and breathe. This is a great one. I like this a lot. And then I'm kind of stretching out of my spine. I'm not collapsing my back. So that's the trick here as we get older. So how can we do these forward folds and not collapse in our back? Okay, get the benefit. Okay, now we're going to get a belt. So I want you to take a moment to get on over to that belt. Okay. Carefully bend your knees and breathe to come up to standing. Okay, grab your belt and you want to place it behind you. Okay, so you're going to hold the belt a little wider than shoulder width apart, so it's not too close in. I would be generous with it. Okay, I would be, however it feels like. Okay, this feels a little bit of stretch here in the front. A little bit of stretch here in the front. Okay. Now, as you take the belt behind you, I'm squeezing the shoulder blades towards my spine. That's a bit of a challenge. So my ribs open and my shoulder blades draw back. Feet, wide stance, and then take that forward fold. Bend the knees. Stick your rear back. That's key for the support of your back. And then as you move your belt overhead, you might go, whoa, that's more intense than I thought. You can bring your hands out further. The key for this, though, is that your palms face forward when you get a hold of the belt. I know I kind of make a big deal about that because I did it wrong for a while. And I was like, wait, I did this for all these years wrong? Some teacher said turn them back one time, and I figured out the alignment was better this way, too. So hold, and you might notice a little bit of circulation going on in your shoulders this way. It can be a good thing. And then letting go is a good thing too, isn't it? So just let it go. Drop the belt. Okay, it's not going to be helping you all the time. Let your arms drain down. Now this is probably a good time after getting the back muscles all those directions to let your head relax. All that circulation into the skin cells of the face. It's a good one. Okay, now as we walk on forward, hands on blocks or not, bring the feet back, come down to table. Okay, turn your bolster across the mat, and we're going to set up for our Sage series. We're doing it towards the end today. Okay, I like this, changing it up. So get a couple blankets, stack them up about the height of your bolster. If you have a round bolster, use that. Okay. All right, so I got my left hip right on next to the bolster on the floor. And then I'm going to set up so I've got a block set overhead. 2. I like to make it easier on my shoulders. Okay, so I got one low setting and then one stacked up. I'm going to push my blocks over to the right so it's easier on my joint. And then I'm going to grab a ball and I'm going to place it at my ribs. So I'm going to bring my knees together so my thighs are stacking, and then place the ball in my left rib cage and bring my elbow to the floor. Okay. Hopefully it won't take your breath away. Okay, so breathe into kind of this energy in the ribs. You don't want it on the breast tissue or on the armpit. See, if you have to kind of push it a little lower, that might be better. Okay. Just take some motions, turning towards the ceiling, elbow back, and then rolling into that left side. So just small movements. If it's too much on your neck to do this movement, what you could do is put your hand behind your head. Some people find just hand on the floor, on the bolster or the floor. I guess the bolster is better. And then just feel that teasing of the rib tissues. Okay, so we're going to take the ball out and put it under the right knee. So I'm going to stretch the left thigh as close to the bolster as I can. And the ball is under my right knee. And then I'm going to get my sandbag. I didn't get that all set up perfectly, but now it's here. Sand to the right hip. And extend overhead with the right arm. Right. Don't be surprised if you can kind of hear some circulation shifts in the gut, right? And even feel circulation shift in the core body. So this could be extreme for some of us to have the arm reaching overhead and trying to touch something. So if this is an extreme scene, what do? You can put your hand on a chair. Okay. Another thing to focus on is the neck. So if you want a little bit more height, I prefer a little more height under my head. That feels better. Okay, I'm going to kind of take some time to make sure my neck is good. My arm is on the floor between the bolster and the blankets. And my right arm might rest down by the side or move overhead or circle around. And sometimes stillness is very therapeutic in a pose, right? So feeling how you're arranging and mapping the way gravity flows through the body. So keep in mind, we're always reorganizing the spaces we breathe into in this practice. Especially since we've been in our body for a while, right? Just kind of feel where the breath can roam. You feel that right arm opening the chest towards the ceiling for a moment, if it's appropriate for your shoulder. Okay, and then we're going to take a turn. So this, I think, is clearly the more relaxing part of this sage pose, is I just take the sand off. I don't like the ball in this pose, but some people do. I like to have my right thigh resting on my left foot, kind of right where the ball was. That spot goes to my foot. Okay, or I bring it higher. Okay, because this helps with that movement of the sacrum. Okay, now when I come up, I'm going to take the blanket stack and move one off of the stack and then turn my bolster up on top of that blanket, so the short end, and then put a blanket on top, and then down you go. Okay, so arms are open. Well, at least they open the back area. And if you're used to a sandbag on this one, I think you can start to kind of melt the tension in the back just by letting your arms relax. I think it's possible. So feel where your head is turning. If this isn't good for your neck today, you can always place your forehead on a blanket. Right? You can just push it up a little bit and then forehead on the blanket. Okay, so you be the decider if you need to fold the blanket up more, even for the head turn. Just caution that it's not causing more pressure in the neck. Yeah. So you might have to move the blanket up, and as your head is just gently turning to the right, relax the elbows down. And just feeling the movement across the ribs. Right? You can slide the arms further back. You can keep them moving open. Find what's more comforting. And now slide the hands back under the shoulders. Push to come up. And let's go to the second side right away. We're just going to turn on the back, on the sitting bones, and then turn to side two. It's kind of challenging not to just come into the sleeping stage first, I have to admit. So pivot the bolster across, take the ball, and if your sand is on the other side, get it. So it's not going to be such a challenge to push it up onto your hip here. So place it next to the right knee. Place the ball at the ribs and put your arm on the floor, your right elbow down, your thigh stack, and then feel some movement. And my left arm doesn't have to be moving with this one. It could be resting on the bolster. I think of that as like typewriter movement. It's just going across the ribs, and it's a small terrain massaging, but it gives them a little bit of life force before you rest them on the bolster. Okay? So I think it's actually a credible thing, but you know, some of us might just lean into the ball and just breathe. It doesn't need to be movement. Well, movement's going to happen inside quite actively when you're breathing anyway, right? And then when you feel that rotation, just a little bit of it, call it good. Right? Just waking it up and then placing the ball under the left inner knee. Get a sandbag to the left hip. And then on the side, you lower down. The left arm is overhead. It might touch the block. If your block was over on that right side, move it to the left side. If you need a blanket to get a little bit higher, take the blanket. Sometimes you want to roll on the back of your head for this one. It feels much more soothing in the neck. Right? So, you know, even if you do a little bit of shift on side two, it's okay. You're giving yourself the opportunity to feel what is the right amount of support. Just breathe. Left arm moves up, and then you roll. You got to take your sand off as you roll to that right rib space and hip. And then as slow as you can, just make it very simple. So you take a blanket away and you turn your bolster up on top of the. Now, if you have a round bolster for that side one, I think the flat bolster is a little better for this one. That's just my opinion, but you can actually use them for both. Use the round for both. So, but I like the flat one better. So move the sand away, move the ball away so the left thigh touches the right foot. And then as you lower down, it's like you're doing a twisted upward facing dog, isn't it? It's like twisted up dog. So as you lower down, rib cage, all the stuff you were rolling, right? And then as you feel the heart move down, try to let it be really heavy here. And then let your head turn to the left. Okay, if that doesn't work for you, forehead is on the blanket and elbows down. And you get to decide, is your head turning left? Is your forehead down? Simply slow it down. Okay, now slide the hands in under the shoulders, come up. And then let's get ready for our final pose, which is going to be an inversion of choice. So it's either going to be bolster bench with 2 blocks under the bolster for that height, or you can go to the place the bolster right against the wall. Okay, now if it's hard for you to get your hamstrings to be close, my teacher teaches legs up the wall with a block between the wall, so it's at the low setting, and the bolster, right? So what would happen is that you would have more space, a bigger gap for your hamstrings. So that's an option, okay? You still want to roll up the same way. So what I'm going to recommend, those of us that are bolster bench, we have our blocks under. I think some of you know that. We put blocks under the bolster, or you can put your legs up on a chair or an ottoman or a couch, right? You just need to get your legs up. That's the key. However you do it, okay? And some of us just happen to be interested in legs up the wall. So have a sandbag. And then if you're going to lift the legs up however height you're going to do, if I'm at Viparita Karani, I put my rear near the wall like I'm sitting at the wall. I go to one edge of the bolster, so it's a little bit like a teeter-totter. And then I bring my arms down, to the left arm down to roll up. If I'm on my left hip, if on my right hip, my right arm goes down to roll up. And I have a gap here between my legs and the wall. So I grab the bolster and I just scoot myself to the middle of it. It's not always perfect. In fact, probably it's however close you are is perfect, right? You don't want to get a feeling like you have to touch the wall, because the key is to reverse the flow in the legs back towards the heart. So it could be legs up on the bolster bench. It could be legs up on an ottoman. It's just getting the legs up. That's all it is. Okay. So grab a sandbag. You're going to place that either, if you're with legs up the wall, you can put it on your feet or your diaphragm basin here. Okay. Sometimes this feels pretty good. So the feet don't have anything on them because they get stepped on so much. These feet get stepped on a lot. So sometimes having the sand actually feels refreshing, sometimes not. So the key would be a little separation of the legs. That way you're going to feel the back of the pelvis centering. Don't jam them together. And then when the arms flow open, the elbows bend, And you get to decide how high your blanket is under your head. Some teachings are to roll it under the neck so that the jaw is a little bit more stretch and ease. Less of the rounded neck, right? Opening up. Cervicals back, okay? I prefer the blanket from the occiput back, not under my neck at all. Okay, so my natural curve occurs this way. That's my preference. Okay, I want to develop this on its own without having to rely on the blanket. So what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to develop this natural curve and have it in these muscles. So let your arms find where they're relaxing and receive your breath. And just scanning, mapping the way gravity flows through your body. Sometimes all you have is the direction of your body to facilitate the circulation benefit, which is what we're doing. Okay, we have benefit from this shape going in towards our heart and our lungs and our vital organs. And you might even notice the pulses in the body. If you get still, you might feel it at the back of the pelvis. Just feel a little bit of that, not just a pump at the heart, but the vitality in the whole body. I mean, there's just energy moving all over the place. So it's not just the heartbeat, the arterial flow returning back towards the heart right here. Arms down or arms open or arms back, all up to you. You get to decide. But at this point, we're trying to slow it down. So if I have my arms overhead, that's kind of giving my heart a different direction. If my arms are out above the heart, not so relaxing. If they're below the heart. And you're going to probably move into your day and change the pulse, change the beat, let it rise, let it fall. And all of that coordination is going to be coaching our body towards a better circulation, the ups and downs. Take a few more moments. Let's take about another 5 to 8 breaths here. Slow breath. Swallow to clear the throat. Relax the facial muscles. Feel the bottom teeth separate from the top. And relax the tongue. And if your legs are up at the wall, we're going to just shift our legs a little bit away. Now, if you're at bolster bench, right, we're all going to start to move our legs a little bit. So we're going to either bend the knees if our legs are up the wall and remove the sandbag. And I think it's a little trickier at the wall because circling the feet, you have to move them purposely away from the wall, right? If you're at the bolster bench, so much easier, right? You can circle your feet. But they're both great for reversing that flow and just having the feet no pressure. Yeah, they almost have no blood pressure now, these feet, at this point, a couple minutes in. It takes about 2 minutes. So the pressure on the feet and the calf fluid retention, right, is less. It takes time, though. If you want to really reduce that any of that pressure in your calves, tightness, fluid retention, right, you have to have the legs up for some time. Like 5 to 8 minutes would probably be good. And then as you draw the knees in towards the chest, and then as you're ready, roll to a side and let your hands last help push you up. So hands last. Now, we use our extremities to get us around so much, even when we find sitting. So find sitting and kind of feel for the final moments how your extremities support you right now, how the legs support you, how the arms support you from rounding your back. I mean, they're critical for the spine. So feel the shoulders connection to the arms and just lift up the heart. Just take a moment for yourself in a good place. Bring your palms together. They can rest together or over your heart. And as you breathe in, well